Hi, my name is Kenny. I'm the lead designer of Rupture and the Beastmaster of Tyrol. Today I'm talking to you about the Immersion Bonus. So, we are not the first to use this in a system. However, when it comes to tying together the concept of story and mechanics, the Immersion Bonus, I think, is one of our most important tools. So, what the goal of it is to give you bonuses to the roles that you make. That way, you get rewarded for better storytelling. So right here we have our target numbers. So 12 being a simple task being completed, 18 being average, 24 being difficult, 32 being masterful, and 40 being godlike. So the immersion bonus can be applied in 1, 3, or 5, adding onto your total. So you can kind of see how a 3, for example, could really help you push that last little bit into getting into doing a harder task. So, to break it down, the immersion bonus that you get, the 1 point immersion bonus, is for just adding a little flair to what you do. If it was in a fight scene, for example, you might say, I hit my staff on the head of one ogre and use that to spin around and hit another ogre. Or let's say you were doing, a brawl. Or, it's too close to a fight. Let's say you were doing something like handle animal. You'd say, okay, I'm going to go up to the animal and kind of murmur gently to it, kind of making similar sounds to it, slightly touch it and softly pet it, and that's how I'm going to try and go about handling this animal. So it's just simple, easy descriptions, and you get a point for that, just as a, hey, cool, you made the story a little more interesting. Now, the +3 bonuses is applied when it really adds depth to your character or to the story. So let's say, for example, you were doing magic. And let's say you are a water magic user. Instead of just saying, okay, I'm going to cast Caged on that enemy over there, you would say, all right, I focus on the waves of the ocean that my character is seeing, the ebb and the flow, and those big waves that come crashing down and capture everyone who is swimming in the ocean. And that is how I focus the cage, and that's how I activate it. So that would give you a +3 bonus. It's very personal to your character. It's drawing from their experiences. Or let's say, for example, to push the storyline along, let's say that you as a group of adventurers from one town are being pursued by lawkeepers from another town. In this new town, your diplomat goes, okay, we need to get the lawmen on our side. And then goes up to him and says, hey, so we've got this whole thing going, these lawmen from the previous town, we've been framed, and they're trying to put it on us to cover it up. They're the criminals. They're the ones that are involved in this. And this diplomat spins this whole story and is trying to convince the lawkeeper of the new town about how bad this whole other lawkeeping group is. Whether it's true or not is not necessarily important, but you would get that +3 bonus because that really helps drive the story along. It's creating new depth, new intrigue, and new interest. Now, the +5, that's the harder one. That is the rarely used one where it is you did something so spectacular and so amazing or so daring or so creative that people can't help but go, wow. That is the maneuver that is going to be talked about around the table after the event's done, a week later, just those big, crazy moments. Or the ones where clearly someone has put so much thought and so much effort into what they are doing, you're going to reward them, especially if they can spin a good story to go with it. So, let's go over a few of the skills from a couple different categories and how you might actually apply that immersion bonus to them. So, let's take strength. I mentioned brawling earlier. So, your character is used to fighting with his fists and is very a trained fighter, has been brawling since he was 6, all the way from, childhood in the scrapyard to bars. So you make a description like this. All right, my character sees the guy in front of him. He preps himself. He's going to get himself into a fighting position, putting his shoulders square, one foot in front of the other, raising his fists into a fighting stance. He's going to breathe in and out, taking a moment to assess everything around him. What is his dangers? Will anyone be helping him? Breathing, breathing, breathing. Focus. And I'm going to start with a jab, waiting for him to react, and a block. And then I'm going to go for an uppercut. And I'm going to put my body into that uppercut to get all that extra power out. So you see how that creates a much more interesting and dynamic fight than just saying, I'm going to go up to the guy and hit him. So that's how you might use that for a brawling skill. Let's talk about the Constitution skills now. Most of the Constitution involves your ability to resist things physically, whether that be toxins or being too tired or the need to eat food or water. So let's say you were trying to get a role where you're trying to get bonuses to avoid having to eat. Let's say your character has been captured and they're attempting to starve her. So this character would say, okay, I have been trained for this. The monks of the monastery where I trained at would often force me to fast, to go days without eating and to focus my chi. I am going to call back to those times. I am going to focus and pull the strength and know that my body will give me the energy I need for my fat stores. And I'm going to focus on that, and I'm going to push away that hunger and that thirst and be ready to fight. So another one of those moments where it's just adding depth. It makes it more interesting. It is just that much cooler and that much more fun to listen to and to tell than just saying, I resist hunger. Let's talk about something of a more active skill. Let's do the luck picking from agility. So you have your thief at the door, and they got to get this door open. So they're going to say something along the lines of, all right, I'm going to pull out my tools. I'm going to carefully look at this lock. I've studied hundreds of locks, thousands of locks. I'm going to take a moment, view it from the outside, and glean what I can from that. I'm going to pick up my turning tool, and I'm going to pick up my picking tool. I'm going to make a few quick touches to the lock, trying to get a feel for it, trying to understand where all the mechanics are. I'm going to carefully, piece by piece, as I've been trained to do, piece by piece, click that lock, turn and click and turn and click and turn. All right, roll it. Take your +3 for the immersion bonus. So you can see how I usually am calling back to the character's history. These characters have skills for a reason. They do not just magically appear in this world suddenly able to lockpick. And as your character levels up, they are going to improve on the skill. But they have experiences with it. They've done things with these skills. So being able to call back to that not only adds depth to the character, but as I keep noting, adds to the story. All right, let's go a slightly different direction. The cooking skill. One that's not super vital and is usually more of a flair. Now, personally, me as a narrator, I actually award for healthy meals. I might give a player who did a really good cooking skill, for example. Anyone who eats the food gets temp health, or they can go longer without rest, or I might give them small bonuses to strength or agility. Just because that healthy meal that is given to the characters will help them. It will make them stronger. And it gives an award for something that usually is just there for kind of flair. But let's talk about the cooking skill. And let's make it a little more fun. Let's say the player who's doing this has to push. They are in the wild. They've been separated from most of their gear. They don't have their spices. They don't have their normal tools. So they're trying to figure this out. So I might describe it like this. All right, I'm going to use the knife we have, the utility knife or the dagger, and I'm going to slice the meat from the deer we've hunted. And I'm going to focus on the flavor of the meat itself. I don't have a lot to spice it with. I don't have a lot to pair it with. Just a few herbs. I'm going to slice it nice and thin. I'm going to get a thin rock and put it over the fire and use that as a hot surface to grill this thin meat. Sprinkle just a little bit of the herbs on it, and really bring out the flavor of the minerals from the rock. Yeah, I'm going to actually lick the rock beforehand and see if I can get any good flavor, what kind of heat that would give me. And between that and the spices, I'm going to give that, put it onto a nice leaf, and hand it out to the people in my party. The character definitely had to push, and they had to show that as a cook, they're creative and that they could figure out a way to make a good meal even with limited resources. So there's your +3. Let's talk about willpower. Ooh, let's do a fun one. Let's do Beyond Limit. So this is the skill that lets you push just a little bit farther. If your character is out of magic points or about to collapse or is just not quite able to complete something, that is where you would activate your Beyond Limit skill. And your chance to describe what happened in your character's past that lets them push beyond. So in anime, we have those kind of classic moments of the power of friendship. I'm doing this for my friends, and because of that, I have limitless strength. That would be actually a really good time to describe that and use that in your Beyond Limit skill. So you can imagine you have tons of opportunities with that to call back to specific moments of your character's past, or the mentality they're at right now, and why they have to complete this, and why it is so important to them. Even maybe rolling in your own personal history and your goals into that to be able to get the goal bonus, which we'll talk about in a separate video. Charisma's a fun one for those that actually are able to fast talk and are actually the naturally charismatic people in real life. So your players with high numbers will be able to play act a very charismatic character. But if you have someone with some natural charisma who's actually a good salesman or good at convincing people, all these charisma-based skills are going to be excellent for them as a chance to get that immersion bonus. So let's take the haggling skill. Let's say you have someone who is actually a natural salesman in life. They would have an excellent opportunity to be able to use their real-life skills and describe how they convince the shopkeeper that obviously they need to sell them this super rare sword with this magical gemstone for half the price, ignoring the fact that this character absolutely does not have the money to full price it, and how it's going to be such a great deal, and how obviously since he's the hero, he needs it for his quest, and just those types of fun moments that really build it up. And let's talk about the last one, perception, and let's do eavesdropping. I'm going to ignore luck for now. That one is really just about true luck. However, if you're clever and you can get the immersion in and you have the right narrator, by all means, take it. But like I said, perception and eavesdropping. So maybe this character has a history of being a street rat. They're used to listening at doors, and they are masters at hearing even the slightest of whispers to hear what they need to know. Or maybe this character is exceptionally intelligent, and they are superb at taking all the drowning noise around them and ignoring it, pushing it away to where they are ultra focused on whoever's talking across the room. A couple different ways to approach it. There is no one right way to approach the immersion bonus. The point of it is, though, is to help build the story, to make everything more exciting and more dynamic. So I hope this breakdown gives some help and some ideas about how you might use the immersion bonus and your skills. Tell me in the comments, what type of stories would you build, and what skills have you used to actually do this? Leave me some comments below. Like and subscribe to hear more of Rupture RPG. We are bringing the game out in September. Check out rupturerpg.com. You can actually get a chance to playtest or just sign up for more news. We'll be releasing regular videos and doing all kinds of different content here and there. I hope you enjoy, and thank you for joining us in Rupture.